let's move on to the Las Vegas. I almost said the Oakland Raiders. Sorry. Let's move on to the Las Vegas Raiders here, and obviously with the new shiny new toy coming into town and Devonte Adams, that puts him probably most likely as the wide receiver 1 for this team. Aaron, what is
his full said most likely?
Barring injury, he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver on this team. Hunter Renfrow was that last year. You talked about him. You ranked him bottom 8 in this division. What is his floor this season for the people who are drafting Hunter Renfrow?
What is you want numbers, or do you want like?
I want your analysis.
Like
well, both numbers and ranking here for those trying to draft. I mean, there's people that are still pretty high on Hunter Renfrow from what I have seen. And
I mean, if you want to talk his floor is irrelevant in fantasy, which is wide receiver 60, 70, whatever he's been in the past. I don't correlate Davante Adams coming to Las Vegas to improving Hunter Renfrow's fantasy value. I think it hurts because he saw a huge uptick in targets last year compared to what he saw prior to that. Before last year, he saw 77, and prior to that, it was 71. Last year, he saw 128, and caught 103. I thought last year his targets went up so significantly, and his yards per catch still sits right around 10. He had 100 catches, 1,000 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I think his touchdown numbers drop off this year. I'm not sure where he's being drafted currently, but I think that the addition of Devonte Adams, which in normal cases would help the guy that's seeing all the defenders and stuff like that, I think it hurts Hunter Renfrow in this place because I do think more targets go Devonte Adams' way. Darren Waller is going to be back. I think Hunter Renfrow's value is diminished at to where he's finished last year. No way he's finishing as wide receiver 11. Let's just say that.
His ADP right now is in the sixth round. He's being drafted as the wide receiver 28. Ahead of guys, he's right next to Courtland Sutton. He's being drafted ahead of guys like Jerry Jeudy, Adam Thielen, Elijah Moore, Allen Robinson, Gabe Davis.
So Gabe Davis, Allen Robinson, Courtland Sutton. Elijah Moore, I actually have falling off a little. I don't have Elijah Moore as high as most people because I think Garrett Wilson is going to come in and be a problem. They still have Corey Davis, and it's the Jets. So who knows? But I think above those guys, above Courtland Sutton and Allen Robinson, I think is insane.
He's right next to Courtland Sutton. He's going wide receiver 27 is Courtland Sutton, and wide receiver 28 is Hunter Renfrow.
Wide receiver 37 to wide receiver 45. Okay. Somewhere in there is where I'd have Hunter Renfrow.
So nowhere near what his ADP is.
No. Okay. Which he's going to be overdrafted. He finished 11th in PPR last year. People are going to overdraft him. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. And then people think, oh, Devonte Adams is there. He gets double covered. Hunter Renfrow is going to be open. He's not going to be any more open than he was open last year, right? He works out of the slot. He doesn't play outside. So none of that's going to change. His yards per catch is not going to go up, and his touchdowns are not going to go up because of the way he plays football. I doubt he has the Cooper Kupp style breakout. Let's just say that.
It's funny. I'm not sure if you were looking at any ADPs here, but like you said, wide receiver 37 is roughly where his ceiling is, and to wide receiver whatever you said. But 25. I'm looking at the receivers at that range to go back to 37. He is that was almost spot on of where I would have Hunter Renfrow. I'd consider taking him over guys like I don't even know if I'd take him over Drake London, or I'd consider taking him over Brandon Ayuk, Treylon Burks, Chase Claypool. I'd consider that. But Claypool's
probably my line. I'd probably have him over Claypool, and Claypool's my line. I might take a Treylon Burks just because of opportunity there. I might take a Drake London just because of opportunity there. There's nobody else really to catch passes, and they're going to feature those rookies. But I could understand somebody taking Hunter Renfrow over that.
What about Bob Woods?
Worried. I'll be honest. I think his career is on the backside. He's been a good receiver for a long time, coming off a major knee injury. I think he's more of a complimentary. Hey, I'll catch 60 balls. I'll get 800 yards, and I have an okay season, but nothing
5
special.
touchdowns, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. He's going as the wide receiver 39 right now, but that is.
I feel like if he stayed with the Rams, I'd feel different. I feel like coming off that injury and going to Tennessee,
you'd bump him up to where Allen Robinson is at wide receiver 32.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to a run-first offense anyway. It's like, so you're going to have the volume's not going to be there for him.
Well, yes, I guess more so it's more that he went to Tennessee than the fact that he stayed with the Rams, I guess, because there's other teams where I'd feel better too. But I don't know. It's not even supposed to be the hate on Tennessee. It's just I feel like they're in flux right now, bro. I really do.
Yeah, it's weird there. AJ, let's finish off the Raiders here. Derek Carr has only been a top 10 fantasy quarterback once in his career. His finishes look like this. He's never finished higher. In the last 5 years, he has not finished higher than a quarterback 12, and that was last year. This man is now getting Devonte Adams, arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. Do you see him cracking the top 10 this year in fantasy football?
That I do. And I mean, the proof is right there on your very beautiful graphic. He's gotten better every single year, and he finished as a QB1 in most what we call a 12-team standard league now. Adding Devonte Adams gives him that weaponry that we were really hoping for, what we were expecting to have when we thought they had receivers. Now you give him a guy in Devonte Adams who's the best receiver in the NFL, coming from a quarterback who knew how to play the position quite well, back with this guy from college, red zone threat, all the types of things you need to be successful. And then let's talk about the way last season went for him. He made things happen despite what he was given. Finishing with 23 touchdowns passing. People had him going for 30, 35 touchdowns last year was the upside. I think having Devonte Adams as a red zone threat, I think Darren Waller coming back healthy, I think the report that he does have a Hunter Renfrow, whether he stays the same or regresses slightly, I think you should see him hit that 30 touchdown area. And with that being thought about, last season, every quarterback that threw for 30 touchdowns was in the top 10. So I definitely think that he has that opportunity this season to be a top 10 quarterback with a Devonte Adams, a Hunter Renfrow, a Darren Waller, a Josh Jacobs, and a Josh McDaniels. So I think he can crack the top 10 this season.
AJ coming out hot, spitting fire. Aaron, what you got?
Dylon.
I love the idea because the premise, everything he said, it's spot on. He's not cracking the top 10. And the reason is because fantasy football, it's just simple. He doesn't run. He doesn't use his legs. And the offense relies heavily. I mean, Josh McDaniels, we don't know yet, but the offense relies heavily on Josh Jacobs in the red zone, which is why he's never had those huge touchdown volume numbers. They run the ball in the red zone. I don't expect that to change much. Devonte Adams will get his in the red zone. Waller will get his. But I still think Josh Jacobs is going to be featured in the red zone, which is going to keep Carr's touchdown numbers 25. Even if he does get to 30, he's not going to throw for enough yards. He's usually been right around 4,000 yards. Last year, he threw for 4,800. Which was his most by far of his career. But if you look at the top 10 guys every year, outside of the wild Tom Brady, who throws it 60 times, throws for 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards, it's Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, who can use his legs. Like guys, Patrick Mahomes, who uses his legs a little bit, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. They're all guys that either throw the ball 45 to 50 times a game or they're using their legs, and Derek Carr just doesn't use his legs. Like he just doesn't run enough. It's going to keep him right around the border, 10, 11, 12, 13, but it's going to be hard for him to crack that top 10 without injuries or without a significant increase in touchdowns and yardage. And again, I think with Josh Jacobs being relied upon in the red zone, it's going to be hard for him to do it. He'll be close. He's good.
Slight rebuttal. And I'll even acknowledge that you don't see this quite often, but thinking about this division and how well they play each other, firstly, but how explosive their offenses will need to be to keep up with the pack, I think you'll see the throwing numbers be otherworldly. That's heavy, but very, very high, right? The other thing is, and this is the outlier I was talking about, what was Josh Herbert's last year? Wasn't he like QB? He was top 5 QB, right? QB2, if I'm not mistaken.
QB2.
Yeah.
But he also threw for
63 attempts and 302 yards. So, I mean, like.
Yeah, but he also threw 40 touchdowns. That's what I'm saying.
And 5,000 yards. But see, I'm saying 23 last year for Derek Carr was in a season where so much BS happened, where he was underperforming basically.
But that's been his whole career.
Yeah, but this can you tell me a team that he's had that's better than this offense that he's looking at this
No,
season?
I agree with you there. But I also that 300 yards that Justin Herbert threw, that how many did ran for? Derek Carr ran for literally 100 yards. So you're talking 20 more points of Justin Herbert was just strictly on running the football. Doesn't include rushing touchdowns, which I'm not sure if Justin Herbert had any, but those things matter. That's the difference between a quarterback 9 and a quarterback 12.
3.
You know what I mean? Like that, there's a huge difference there between a quarterback 9 and a quarterback 12, because those numbers are usually close, but those rushing is what makes the difference. I take Kirk Cousins every year, for example, 4,000 plus yards, 30 touchdowns, and can't crack the top 10 because he just doesn't get enough on the ground to compensate for either too many interceptions or he's not over exceeding the 40 plus touchdown mark. I think Derek Carr is very similar to that. He'll always be in the conversation. And I'm not coming at people who say, oh, he's going to be in the top 10 because there's a chance, but he'll usually end up falling 11, 12, 13, 14, a very, very solid high-end quarterback to quarterback 1. And you notice, like you said, the last 2 years, probably his 2 best years. I mean, are his 2 best years, and he's been right on the cusp of a quarterback 1 in 12 teams leagues. And I think that's perfectly fine. I think that's where Derek Carr should be going in drafts.
He is being drafted right now as the QB 13. Right behind Matthew Stafford and right ahead of Trey Lance and Kirk Cousins.